Are you awake now, Tiny? Good. How was your nap? Wonderful. Should we continue on with Bowling Brawl by Hymne? Okay. Just relax, okay? I'll hold you in place so you don't fall off my lap. Were it not for the constant threat of an impending second war, it would be the golden age for bowlers. While major cities lie decaying in ruin, pristine alleys led by Fred's preserved society and freedom. Fred had built his alley during the darkest days of the war. Oh. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Few dared live outside alleys anymore. Everything from agriculture to education to commerce took place in facilities like Fred's alley. It had the hustle and bustle of big city in places, while it had more homey, private feel in others. Forests of food-bearing trees and artificial habitats had wildlife of all descriptions for nature lovers to observe what the wilds of old Earth were like. Civilians went about their daily lives here, free from the threats of the three enemy factions, because bowlers, marines, and other military personnel stood a constant vigil, aided by advanced tracking systems and automated defenses. Concealed guns and missile batteries popped from their hidden hatches to engage at the first hint of enemy projectiles, aircraft, or land units. All the defenses hinged around bowling, and bowling was life. The alley defenses and her warriors gave the impression of spoiling for a fight, standing as an immovable barrier against the gaping jaws of death, coming wide for them from time to time. Within that shielded safety and walking with deliberation, and a spring in her step, was a young blonde bowler in a beige bowling shirt. The fluorescent lights above her cast their soft white glow. They flickered as the older versions of alley lights had in ages past to maintain the authenticity of ancient bowling alleys, which frequently had electrical problems. Similarly, the ceiling mimicked the appearance of bowling alleys, which often had white square tiles with black specks marked them, and here and there were painted with a false brown stain to reenact water damage, though the actual tiles were composed of modern cutting-edge materials. Walking on the floor tiles, which also bore resemblance to ancient tiles of alleys on Earth, gave comfort to the woman. Beside her was an alley clerk in his standard plaid uniform of purple pants and shirt, with his headset and sensor goggles. His hair was slicked back. He was an inch shorter to the woman due to the thick soles of her bowling shoes, though this bothered neither of them. Higher-ranking clerks wore purple plaid, the most prestigious of patterns. The woman's beige attire meant she was a semi-pro bowler. She had seen her share of combat, but had yet to bowl a 300, which would elevate her to the level of a pro. The level of battle she had yet experienced were skirmishes. Most melees with pinheads, pindroids, and dark bowlers were chance encounters. None of the four factions wanted to risk heavy casualties just yet. They fought briefly and disengaged. What the woman lacked in experience from these light engagements, she more than made up for in skill and devotion to cause. Her family lived here, and keeping them safe and free was her purpose in life. And to be given this honor, to be privileged to awaken the highest scoring bowler of all time, was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They were to revive the mighty Joey Mitchell, a man who saved countless lives and put down thousands upon thousands of enemies. He had helped Fred create the alley and kept it growing and standing by his blood, sweat, and tears. It was Joey who had taken command when Fred was killed and started the facility down the path that made it the powerhouse it was today. His fast friendship to Fred and his boundless humility led him to refuse to have the alley named after him, despite repeated attempts to make the change. Every private room, common area, and luxurious, lavish lavatory owed its existence to the mighty Joey. His wonders were reflected in every cafe, bowling alley, and retail storefront that they passed. No cuisine exceeded the deliciousness of that bowling alley, and as they passed the restaurant shops, with their sweet aromas, their mouths soon watered. Whoever put the clerk's primary storage station so close to all that food was a genius. The clerk's lunch hour must be heavenly. Soon they approached a cul-de-sac that was monitored by 3 circular command consoles. These in turn were manned by clerks wearing thick operation goggles and periwinkle shirts that marked them as technicians. The alcove they worked at guarded 3 sets of orange metallic double doors. None of the staff recognized either of the woman or the clerk. Each console stood before a set of doors. Easy listening music was playing overhead. The song operator by Midnight Star was a favorite in the alley. The classics never died or got old. Behind the thick, sturdy doors were the greatest bowlers booth barricaded. The noble assembly of clerks chatted amongst themselves. They were chewing sunflower seeds, drinking beverages, and glancing occasionally at the screens that safeguarded the men and women they were sworn to protect. These armchair warriors were assisted by pairs of hybrid soldiers who were a combination of bowler and marine, wearing their bowler hats and in full camouflaged battle gear in case of attack. Dark bowlers occasionally infiltrated allied league alleys to attempt to assassinate cryogenically sleeping bowlers. The odds of succeeding at such an attempt were minuscule. The last several raids had gone badly for dark bowlers, and no dark bowler had ever reached this deep into Fred's. The storage area was deep within the thickest, most heavily shielded, and most armored section of the entire alley. To say nothing of the marine bowlers and automated weapons, one would have to fight their way through. Joey Mitchell was as safe as his comrades could make him. His name was at the top of the digital screen listing legendary bowlers presently living. Stats blinked, explaining the statistics and legendary acts of men and women, part of the greatest in history. Clerk and bowler stared at the list in awe. It was full of names they heard in their history and training classes. They gawked wide-eyed, momentarily forgetting what they were doing. These men and women saved humanity from the pernicious pinhead predation and subjugation by their own fingertips. They felt reverence, standing in silence until the head clerk of Station 1 finally took notice of them. She was a short woman with short-length black hair and was middle-aged. She handed them a computerized clipboard, and the clerk filled it out, still transfixed on the stopboard. The head clerk chewed her gum boredly and glanced down at the awakening order. She gasped, nearly swallowing her gum, and then spit it out with a cough, and it flew across the room where it stuck to the goggles of one of the Marines, who had to break her guard stance to remove it. The guard sniffed it once, shrugged, and then stuck it in her mouth. The male guard on the other side of the door grimaced, then his expression became devoid of emotion again. Both guards' mouths dropped open when the head clerk shouted, "Joey Mitchell! You're awakening! Joey Mitchell!" She shouted and ran to a woman stationed at the console. Are you getting sleepy again? You just get so relaxed, don't you? It's okay. You can go back to sleep. We can finish this at a later time.